y'all, brother. Y'all don't think that they've been plotting and planning on y'all lives? Don't you see? Racism is dead in America. No, it's not. It's alive and well. The hatred of Esau for Jacob, for the children of Israel, is alive and well. Why do you think you don't know your nationality? That's why you call yourself Black, African American, Solani, FBA, or whatever you choose to call yourself. You call yourself everything except for what the Most High God calls you. And that's because you've lost your identity. You lost your identity. And you know what's crazy about it? Y'all don't even consider who you choose are. Because if we ask you where you come from, most of y'all gonna say Africa, right? A landmass with multiple countries, thousands of languages, multiple tribes. Where do you come from in Africa? Because most Africans don't even call themselves African. They say they're from Nigeria, or I'm from, I'm from over here, I'm from Ghana. But we're the only people that's lost. Look at Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. The ox knows his own, and the ass is not the spirit, but Israel doeth not know. My people doeth not consider. He said the ox and the ass, those are two dumb animals. You understand? They know where they come from. They know where home is. But it says Israel don't know. It says that Israel don't consider that you Black straight together. You don't even consider where you come from or who you are. You are comfortable calling yourself a color out of a crayon box. Black. And when you look at the skin, you're brown. You're comfortable calling yourself African American, two continents. Not realizing that you've been destroyed by your enemy. That's why they took the chain off of you. Why? Because they have successfully placed them on your mind. The chains have been placed on your mind. Now you think you're everything else except for what God said. And it's time to wake up. You are not who your enemy says you are. And this is a common sense thing too, right? The same people that will hold public lynchings, that will burn you, shoot you, take your babies. They took out babies and fed them to gators. Understand this. They was hanging up the trees and celebrating. You think these people are going to tell you who you are? You think they're going to be honest about where you come from? They hate you and have shown you. That's why we're out here to tell you the truth about who you are. You are the greatest people on this earth. You are the chosen of the Most High God. Why do you think the whole world follows everything we do? Everything that this earth does is influenced by us. That's why. Why? Because we're supposed to be a rulership. But we were disobedient to our fathers. And now it's come from the first. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. So when you look at our community, right, is it us that got the businesses that's booming and elevating our community, or do the strangers coming in amongst us with their liquor stores, with their gas stations? You understand? With their corner stores. They're coming in our neighborhoods and they're getting rich off of our jobs. And we're still at the bottom. We're still low, still struggling from check to check. Right? Yeah. All the A-Rods, the Indians, the Asians, they running the business with our community. And when one of us open up a business, we don't even really stop with our own people. So think that makes sense. And we wonder why we still at the bottom. Why did we first? Go back to the 15. This is a curse that's on our people. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe God's commandments and his statutes and command thee to serve, that all these parts shall come upon thee and overtake thee. The reason why we're at the bottom is because we refuse to listen to what God has instructed us to do. We don't want to keep his laws. We want to vote, hoping that a government that was raised against us will save us. You know what I'm saying? We want to trust in our own strength. We want to trust in the dollar that got the oppression faithful to save us. Instead of doing what the Most High God said do. We tried everything. We tried literally everything except turning back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God.
Con, mighty men at HOI Milwaukee, bringing it out. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to HOI's Shabbat class. Kom Yashala, we got next. You already know what it is. All right. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Double honors to our elders, paving the way, waking up the lost sheep in these last days. Kom Yasha'Allah, rise Israel, in the Paleo Hebrew. Shabbat Shalom, enjoy your day of rest. All right. We're gonna get into it, okay? This lesson is called Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense. You ever seen the movie Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis in it? It's kind of similar, but kind of different, if that makes sense. All right, we're gonna talk about it. All right, first I gotta say, Fair Use Act, Fair Use Act. This video is protected by the Fair Use Act. This is for educational purposes only, thus being protected by the Fair Use Act. Okay. All right, let's get started. So, a few videos. We're gonna do current events, things that's going on in the world today that you might have missed, or you've seen it, but we're just gonna talk about it. You know what I mean? And some things you really can't unsee. You know, the things that's going on in this planet. Anybody available to read today? All right, let's go to 1 Peter 5 and 8. In fact, you go to 1 Peter 5 and 8, but we get the definition of sixth sense. Sixth sense, a supposed intuitive faculty given awareness not applicable to in terms of normal perception. Okay, instinct, intuition, the power of perception, but not one of the five senses. A keen intuitive power. All right, keen intuitive power. And like for definition, I mean, for example, right? You start thinking about somebody. Damn, I wonder what such and such is doing. And then the phone rings. And it's like, oh, wow, man, I was just thinking about you. Like, yeah, that's crazy. Because obviously I was thinking about you. That's why I called. You know what I mean? And we just bypass it and brush it off, keep going. You might be in a crowd and you're just sitting there like, I feel somebody's watching me. And you turn and then you make eye contact with somebody and they quickly look away because they're, didn't realize that you will be looking back at them. that's like that intuition, that instinct that we all have, but we don't always try to enhance it. You know what I'm saying? And people try all types of things to enhance it. Different drugs. They go into the middle of the Amazon rainforest and drink some potions, and you know what I mean? They do chants and all this other stuff. So, we ain't talking about that. You know what I mean? The way we enhance our mind, body, and soul, right? Our spirit, uplift our spirit by reading the scriptures, right? Fasting, praying, you know what I mean? Asking the Most High for, more enlightenment, more wisdom, more knowledge. So there's other ways, and meditation, you know what I'm saying? These are the main ways as Israelites. All the other stuff, that's what Esau does, and it ain't working out for him no how, okay? So we need to increase our intuition, our perception, our awareness in these last days, see signs, patterns, and know how to read them and react. Okay. Why? Because times are getting crazy. All right. So let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. And it reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." Okay, so evil is attempting to devour. Okay, the righteous, right? Because if they're doing evil, then you're doing what Satan wants. You know what I mean? You're doing what the adversary wants. But if you're attempting to do good, you're attempting to change your life, attempting to be a better person, then you're going to have some backlash. You're going to have some trouble. You're going to have the adversary on your heels. Okay. Let's get Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15. It's like, man, I'm going through it. I don't know why. It seems like it's just me. It's not just you. All right. That's the first. You don't want to get into that woe is me spirit. You know what I'm saying? If you're aiming to do good, you're going to have some backlash. All right. So if you're getting that backlash, keep going. You're in good company. All right. Because the apostles, the prophets, they had to deal with these things. Okay. Yeah. HOI, right? Was tempted by Satan in the wilderness. Okay. So you're in good company. All right. Stay the course. As you can see, as you're going to see, further evidence that we're at the end of this thing. Okay. We'll get Ephesians after the video. So Ephesians 5 and 15, have that on deck. All right. Let's get this set up. Hopefully everybody's week was everything they wanted it to be. You know what I mean? In Babylon. Of course, we're in Babylon. Slack in. Having a little trouble with this. I'll be with you momentarily. All right, where we at? All right. So the first video is going to talk about some things that you might be seeing, you know what I mean, wherever you're at. I'm certainly seeing them. But you tell me.
Police say they found him across the city in a backyard.
So this right here is the first video about a target. People got targeted in Target, right? Imagine that. But the evil things happening on the planet, spirits are jumping on people. You know what I mean? One video, I don't know if we're gonna be able to play it today, but it happened yesterday in Philly on the train. somebody got unalived, right? But he was just walking, pacing back and forth, pacing back and forth. He was 18 years old, pacing back and forth, and just started beating somebody up for no reason. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you all right? You know, got spirits on him. Okay, got spirits on him, and the other guy was armed, so he ended up shooting him. So it's a self-defense case. So there's videos like this, or instances like this is popping up all over, kind of around the same time. All right, but let's play the video.
Police say they found him across the city in a backyard, naked, holding a Bible, where they used a taser to bring him down.
He said that he was Jesus, and there was really no reason whatsoever given. It was a completely random choosing victims.
And was walking down the street naked when he spotted him.
I think he said something about I'm a Christian soldier or something. And then we were like, what the F? He turns around and sees us, and that's when he, starts running at us full sprint, and that's when we get inside.
APD says Nineker was holding a Bible, telling officers he was Jesus before officers used a taser to take him into custody.
His mannerisms were erratic. He was saying that stuff about the power of Christ compels you.
Detectives say they're still trying to understand what drove Nineker's actions that day.
We're still looking into the drug portion of it. He could have been under the influence of narcotics and might not necessarily be all attributed to mental illness, so we're still investigating all of that.
Walt, we're learning new details about this bizarre and tragic incident that sprawled across the town of Austin, but started right here at this Target parking lot. But today I spoke with a witness that tells me they saw Ethan get arrested in their neighborhood, but not before he charged at them completely naked. On Monday afternoon, Austin police say 32-year-old Ethan Nineker opened fire at a North Austin Target off Highway 183 and Olin, killing a Target employee in the parking lot. He then shot a grandfather and his 4-year-old granddaughter sitting in their SUV.
The actions of the suspect showed a complete disregard for human life.
Investigators say the victims, 24-year-old Hector Martinez Machuca and 65-year-old Adam Chow and his 4-year-old granddaughter, were targeted at random. Nineker is charged with 2 counts of capital murder and 1 count of murder. Police say he stole Chow's SUV, crashed it minutes later, then hijacked another car. Witnesses described a trail of wrecked vehicles and a suspect determined to keep running.
It was just a really bizarre Monday. It was just out of the blue.
Brian Jones saw it all, literally from his front yard in a quiet South Austin cul-de-sac on La Casa Drive. Police say when Nineker got to the area, he ditched his clothes in a nearby porta potty. Jones says he then took a shower using a neighbor's backyard hose and was walking down the street naked when he spotted him. The documents show he told officers, quote, "I killed a man and a baby girl today in the Target parking lot because I'm Jesus." Criminal defense attorney Amber Vasquez is not connected to the case, but says what's described in these documents raises major legal questions. Police say Nineker admitted he shouldn't have shot them, and when asked why he spared Chow's wife, who was also in the SUV, he first said, "Because mothers are pure." Then, quote, "I guess because I ran out of bullets."
And someone from Nineker's Bible study said Nineker threw a brick through his home. Police found him naked on Montclair Street, and he was tased and arrested. We asked police what his motive was.
He said that he was Jesus, and there was really no reason whatsoever given.
I'm your Brevard County community correspondent, James Sparvera.
So also with that, notice the names. Esau that started doing the the shooting. It seemed the first person that he unalive was from the 10 tribes, just by the name. You know what I mean? Assuming that's just, by the name, that's who he first shot. And then the man and his granddaughter, that was the same like Moab, you know what I mean? So, that spirit jumped on him and he shot, even though he's walking around naked with a Bible and everything, he shot everybody that was not a heathen. I mean, don't Salakia, obviously Moab is a heathen, but not an Edomite. You know what I mean? He had his picks. Let's continue.
We have a little more insight now as to why the sheriff's office says a 22-year-old drove from Texas to West Melbourne to kill his own grandparents. The motive has been the big question in this tragedy. Last week before a judge, Jeremiah Campbell broke down as the judge read him his charges, including 2 counts of murder. Just like we saw him crying in court a week ago, this new affidavit from the Brevard Sheriff's Office says Jeremiah Campbell was sobbing uncontrollably and shouting a stream of incoherent words when he was arrested, too. It reads, after Mr. Campbell was detained, he made a spontaneous utterance saying that God told him to send his grandparents to him. And now Satan sees I am a valuable man of the kingdom. He wanted his grandfather dead. Last week, Terry French, whose granddaughter was shot to and survived, told me he lived across Washington Street from George and Mary White, who were in their 80s, for more than 30 years. The sheriff's office says George White ran to Terry's house after Campbell killed his grandmother first.
Best neighbor you ever know. Do anything for you. I hope we get close to an answer. That's the real question I want to know.
Also available for public record now, there's a list of things that sheriff's deputies took from Jeremiah Campbell's grandparents' house. Included in that list, and it doesn't specify to whom these things belong to, but there's guns, prescription medications, and I also noticed a wig and a handwritten note that they seized. I've asked the state attorney's office about what's written on that note. As soon as they share any more in the investigation, we'll update this story again on News 6 and clickorlando.com. In Brevard County, I'm your community correspondent, James Sparvero. News 6.
The image on your screen now is taking over social media tonight. It appears to show a shadowy figure that some say looks like a demon. A man posted the image to his Facebook page. Since then, it's been shared thousands of times, with people debating, though, whether they see a demon or an angel.
This is why Peter warned.
All right. So afterwards, of course, Esau almost put his 2 cents in. But let's go to Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. So we got to know what time we're living in. Okay, so that's the 6th sense I'm talking about, as having that feeling, you know what I'm saying, that something's up, that something's about to happen. You know what I mean? Being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the temperature, you know what I'm saying, of the country, of the spirits around you, and trusting in that, you know what I'm saying? Doing everything in your power good, that the Most High is not sending lying spirits towards you, you know what I mean? That he's giving you, what's happening, what's real, okay? And that we picking up on this. So looking at what's happening in Chocolate City, DC is called Chocolate City. A lot of Jakes live in Washington, DC. So what did the government do? The government thought it would be a good idea to send in federal troops. You know what I mean? Now, is Washington, DC perfect? I seriously doubt it, right? Just looking at the news reports, things that happen. But come to find out that their violent crime rates are actually falling. You know what I'm saying? They're not as high as they used to be. And things appear to be getting better, you know what I mean, through the statistics. I'm sure we talked to our brothers down there in DC and the sisters down there in DC, they might have another spin on it, saying, I don't see any change or whatever, but who knows? You know what I mean? Statistically speaking, DC is supposed to be getting better, but Donald Trump sent in the federal guards. What happened? An Edomite that was part of the Doge crew, Elon Musk fire everybody, section of the government, saw armed carjacking occurring. So he, Esau he goes up, he's bold and everything. And that might be a false flag, to be honest with you, who knows? But he goes up and tries to stop it, and they beat the mean out of him. So that was like a big story, because this is a government worker, you know what I mean? Doge worker. And he got beat up by a bunch of teenagers, actually. So now it's like, oh, this is crazy, it's ridiculous, we got to do something. So they send the federal government, right, to quell crime. But what they're doing is going to Black neighborhoods and seeing brothers, that might be outside smoking or drinking and checking them, check their ID and, pretty much harassing them. Same stuff that they've been doing, but on a whole nother level. It's like 20 of them just popping up. We'll come back and talk about it, but let's watch the video. Let's go to Proverbs 22:3. We're going to watch the video of them harassing Jake. You know what I mean? And what I gotta say, like trigger warning. I'm sure every black man on here and watching right now has experienced this at one point in time in their life. Very traumatic. It can be very traumatic, you know what I'm saying? Because you got a known murderer coming up to you with a gun, ask you a bunch of questions that seem to trip you up, to either take you in jail or to put a bullet in you. All right, let's get that. Proverbs chapter 22:3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So if you're not paying attention, you still doing business as usual. And he asked the one of the brothers, he says, you don't know what's going on with Trump? He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So us not knowing, ignorance, is not an excuse. You got to pay attention. Why you think 30, 40 cop cars is going up and down your street and you have tanks and all this other stuff? Because now the National Guard's in there as well. So our people gotta, wake up, pay attention. All right, let's watch the harassment from our people. Towards our people. All right, here we go.
So the feds target a black man on his porch having a cigarette during Trump's DC federal government takeover crackdown. Put up for mass. All right. So this is an interesting dynamic, really within the first hours of Trump taking over Washington, D.C. through this power grab and this very unknown and rarely used law. A man was smoking a cigarette and this happened.
You got your ID on you, chick? Well, no, I live right here. Who? There's a cigarette. Y'all get a call about right here? No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal search that Donald Trump's put down? No. Right. You don't follow like 3 anything like that? People putting out. All right, so yeah, Trump got all that basically kind of come together, 7 days going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life, that's drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside. So we're just out here trying to inform people. Right? It's not like we're trying to just go spread through and ruin someone's life.
He knows what he's doing. Let's go to Revelation 12:12. It's not like
they set them up so he can get him. They kept talking. We was talking about violent crime, but he talking his.
It's not like we're gonna go just try to ruin people's life, but that's what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? And it's only a matter of time for somebody makes a sudden move. They might have a warrant on them or, a Tylenol in their pocket that doesn't have the name on it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to go to jail. And you make a sudden move. Those dudes is armed to the teeth. So when that happens, that will probably galvanize, get everybody on their feet, paying attention what's really going on. Revelation chapter 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So he knows what he's doing. No, we're not just trying to, ruin people's lives and nothing like that. Of course you are. That's why it's like 30 of y'all running up on people, you know what I mean? They're sitting on a porch. Now, people across the street might be happy about that. Like they always sitting there and smoking and fighting and I don't know. You know what I mean? And we gotta understand who this ultimately, even though Trump said that, that this stuff's gonna happen or put the decree out that's gonna happen, who really put the decree out? Ultimately, that'll be Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You know what I mean? Let's go to Psalm chapter 17 and verse 13. Psalm chapter 17, verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. So this is the Most High sword coming down to our people, and harassing them. Esau's not having it. Esau's throwing Subway sandwiches at the cops. You know what I mean? I seen a video with Jake. Jake's like, yo, chill, trying to, calm things down. Esau's revving it up. Okay, and we got that video as well. Let's go to Judith. Because what they doing is quality of life issues. If you're out here smoking, obviously he's looking for marijuana, or any other drug, because, the cigarette isn't illegal. But even though in the eyes of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you're destroying your temple, you're destroying yourself. So they're getting people that are smoking out here, drinking, I don't know if that's a law, you're not allowed to have a beer on your front step or, have a drink on your front step. I don't see that law anywhere, but Esau is just there to harass and throw people in jail. Since the jails are getting clear because people aren't committing violent crimes anymore, people from the 80s and 90s and all that are coming home, right? And the jails are clearing out. They got to get you for other things like drinking in public, evading arrest, disorderly conduct, things of that nature. But we got to get it together. We got to sharpen up. So when you see these people come up to you, you don't have to panic and run and do all this other stuff if you ain't do nothing wrong. You know what I mean? Now, they might shoot you anyway, but the Most High God might strike them by lightning, strike them with lightning before that happens. All right, let's go to Judith chapter 5 and verse 20. Now, therefore, my Lord and governor, if there be any error in this people and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up and we shall overcome them. So if you're out there smoking, you're out there drinking excessively, you're fighting, you're selling drugs, you're doing stuff you ain't supposed to do, look what's going to come to you. And he already says, coming to Chicago, it's coming to LA, these things like this take time, planning, but he's telling you what he's going to do. And 9 times out of 10, Trump aims to do what he says. But look, let's get verse 21. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them and their God before them, and we become a reproach before all the world. So if we found the law, statutes, commandments aiming to be righteous, and these things happen, then they're going to fall apart. So we got to get it together. Let's watch the rest of it.
Eggs because when you walked up, at the moment you walked up, you only had eggs. Well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you're the only guy that had something lit in your hand, and I didn't flash for it. I didn't realize it was just like that. But that's how I'm pretty sure it's going on hand.
They're cracking down on crime or walking up to your property, your porch, which is still your protected property, and demanding your ID because somehow you're breaking the law and that's what they are out to enforce. It's insanity. It's a police state. And this happened within the first few hours of the technical federal takeover. Put it up, full man. Here we go. First hours of Trump and his administration's Washington, D.C. takeover. A man was targeted on his own porch for smoking a cigarette. It appears
Oh,
the officer was
look,
trying to
right there, white
determine
chair.
whether the man was smoking a cigarette or marijuana. In the days since the takeover began, hundreds of federal agents and National Guard troops have been patrolling the Capitol. Quote, tell your boys everybody's out from the FBI to the police, the agent says. Quote, so do your thing, let them know. Don't be smoking outside. Don't be drinking outside. End quote. Wait. So if you have a beer and you want to sit on your porch and drink your beer, the court has determined that that is still your home property, that you are able to sit on your porch and have a drink. Even if your city has a law against public intoxication. If you are in your home or immediately outside of your home, on let's say your porch, you are still protected. It's still your home. Now they're saying, well, under this rule, whatever rule they're making up, you no longer have that, right? You see, it seems small, but it's actually huge. This is a mountain, not a molehill. This mountain is saying, we're going to make up the rules as we go. We're not going to concern ourselves with statute. We're not concerning ourselves with the precedent of the court. We are going to concern ourselves with what Trump told us to do. And it always starts in small ways, and then it increases over time. There's more. White House press secretary, a child named Levitt, confirmed that roughly 850 officers and agents were dispatched across the city on August 11th and made 23 arrests for a range of crimes, including homicide, firearm offenses, stalking, DUI, and fare evasion. Those are people that don't have money to get on the bus or train. Okay? Department of Defense. The official told NBC News that the National Guard is charged with security, crowd management, perimeter control, and communication support for the city's law enforcement. Guard members will not be arresting, searching, or performing, quote, direct law enforcement, and in most cases won't be carrying firearms, according to the official. How is it that they are charged with security, but not in charge of security? They're charged with security, but they can't make arrests. They won't be engaged in real police work, but they're in charge of security. The fact they have to measure their words in such a way should raise a red flag immediately. They have to measure their words because we have statutory law and we have Supreme Court precedent that would bar the National Guard from engaging in such action. So what they're doing is telling you the narrative that fits the paradigm of law and court ruling, but the actual activity of the National Guard is in fact in violation of the essence of those rules. And they know this. There's more. Federal and state data reveal that violent offenses in the city have seen double-digit decreases. Metropolitan Police Department statistics show 26% drop in violent crimes this year so far compared to the same period last year. The reason I bring that to your attention is because Donald Trump attempted to make the argument that, oh, we're doing this because it's just so violent. Well, the truth is you have double-digit drops in crimes across the spectrum. So he can no longer make that argument successfully. He simply wanted a takeover. A recent Department of Justice report shows that violent crime was actually down 35% since 2023, returning to the previous trend of decreasing crime that puts the district's violent crime at a rate lowest in 30 years. Black people on social media have been speaking out online regarding the takeover. William Goldsboro said, remember, when us Black folks were saying MAGA was going to get to us via the 14th Amendment and use immigrants to do it, but y'all said we were fear-mongering. Trump is taking over a Black city with plans to come up the road to Baltimore. You were stupid on November 5th. Another user writes, has anyone noticed that Trump thinks that only cities with black female mayors need to be taken over by the federal government? The cities that he has taken over have lower crime rates than they have had in years. But they have to be taken over? Has anyone noticed the racism? TikTok user and guest of the show, our dear sister, Reese Colbert, reminded social media users that this is no coincidence to bring the military into a city with a large black population. Quote, for anybody to believe that Donald Trump coming in with the military is a solution, and for anybody to think, even after all that we've seen from this administration, that is only going to impact so-called bad ones, is irrational. And that's correct. I ask this question damn near every day now. Does it still feel like a democracy to you? Does it still feel like a democracy to you? Federal government takeover of a city. I thought Republicans believed in smaller government, less governmental intrusion, allowing the local people to do it the local way. I thought you cared about the decrease in crime, what works work. I thought you gave a damn about the authority of the voter to elect their representatives themselves. Nobody elected federal government to be in charge in DC. Nobody elected Donald Trump to be their de facto mayor. He's doing this as a practice run for expansion. That is my opinion. Now, we can stop this. You can stop this. Republicans who continue to go along with it, stop. He's not only destroying the fabric of the nation, he's destroying your party, but he's also destroying your soul. For those of you who believe you have one. If you go along with this madness, the judgment of history would not be kind to you. All right, dear brother.
All right. So that's his take on that. And I agree. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's other places he can go. You know what I'm saying? You want to crack down on crime, but he's coming to the hood. You know what I mean? And it's not like people are calling them. They're just going up and stopping and frisking and, you know what I mean, trying to get guns and, you know, just really put brothers in jail. So we see this. We can all see this, right? This doesn't take a heightened sense of intuition. You're looking at it right now. You know, it's something that we talked about at length. You know what I mean? For years, and it's happening right now. You know, and it's going to happen in other cities. So we got to get prepared. You know, mentally, physically, spiritually. All right, because they think they're not doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? The president said, go to Negro neighborhoods and, you know, harass them and throw them in jail. And that's just what I'm doing. You know, what they say, the Nuremberg trials. I was just doing my job. But as you can see, with the spiritual eye, that they're enjoying this. You know what I'm saying? They're not going home and crying in their wife's arms like, oh, I harassed 300 black teenagers today. And, oh, it's so terrible. You know, they're excited. You know, the ICE agents, you know, gripping up anybody that looks Hispanic, you know what I mean, and figuring that out later, to the federales just going into our neighborhoods and harassing us. And Border Patrol agents are up there as well in DC. I didn't know DC had like a border that people can go past, but here we are. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 7. So, you know, what you see in DC, you can expect to be in your city, a city near you very soon. Okay. These things are making haste. This is not slowing down. And you look at the progress, right? He did this before with LA. You know, he brought the National Guard in LA, and what happened? They ended up bombing Iran. You know what I'm saying? Right beforehand. It's like, that's kind of strange how it's almost like he knew ahead of time that he was going to bomb Iran. So let me bring the National Guard into LA on the West Coast, you know, to quell any issues or any maybe possible invasions or whatever, you know, getting ahead of this thing. So he did this in DC right before he had a meeting with Putin yesterday. And during the meeting with Putin, well, not even during the meeting, when they first met, they had a B-52 bomber fly over Putin. You know, like stupid people are like, yeah, they do that all the time. You know, anytime a head of state comes over, they put a B-52, nuclear B-52 bomber flying over their head. No, they don't. There's a message to Putin, like, I will bomb you. You know what I'm saying? And who knows? I'm not sure the exact terms, but I know Putin said they want the whole Donbass region over there in Ukraine, which is more likely not going to happen. So you got to prepare yourself for nuclear war. Okay. Possibly starting off conventional, like it is now. It's actually happening now, then a nuclear side of things. All right, Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 7. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord, the habitation of justice, even the Lord of the hope of their fathers. So look at what God's doing. You know what I mean? We got to take it a step further. You know, as Israelites, think outside the box. Yeah, Esau's the devil. He's harassing us more. He's been harassing us. He's adding on to our oppression, so forth and so on. But it seems like the Most High God is condensing things. Like, you know, you might be. Mute your phone.
No.
Mute your phone. All right. He's condensing things, like getting us right. You know what I'm saying? You got a smoking habit, you might want to get rid of that. All right, get rid of that. You know, overindulgence, get rid of that. You know, start depending on your how about Shem Yahushai. You walk around the neighborhood with a stolen gun, you might have 20 federal agents just hop out and stop and frisk you, and you go to jail for 10 years or prison, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. How, you know, if you got a record, you know what I'm saying, and you got a gun, you're a felon with a gun, you don't have to, you know, bad things can happen. You go get locked up. So we got to what? Depend on your how about Shem Yahushai. We got to depend on the Most High God, okay? Because this is starting, you know, to unravel. The U.S. is beginning to unravel. All right. Now let's talk about a rapper, right? This rapper in Atlanta, and you got to, you know, it talks about you. We got to watch what we say, right? Because our words will definitely come back and put us in a state that we might not necessarily want to be. All right, hold on. If I could just do this, give me 1 minute. All right, Slakia. I'll see if I can find this. It's a video of with him. His rapper name is T Hood. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I'm gonna try once this video's off. But he made a video in a graveyard. He's like, oh, come on down. All you got to do is die. And this is, you know, this is where it's at. And he had like a draped, like ghost, you know, like a white sheet on him. Like he's a ghost with like blood around the eyes, like laughing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is funny. And, you know, he made a collaborated album called Gravediggers. So if you listen to his music, you're not if you don't know who he is, and you never listen to his music, you're not missing anything, you know, but just got to talk about the judgment that's taking place. You know, like I said, the Most High, he's tightening the reins. You know, if we've been messing up just a little bit on this side, that little bit's gonna get us out of the kingdom. You know what I mean? So we gotta tighten up. Okay, so this young man, he was 33 years old. Apparently now it's coming out that it was a domestic issue, and that a woman that was she's like a daughter of was it like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta or something like that. She's a daughter of those two stars or two celebrities or whatever, and she ended up shooting the bull. Like she got beat up, and then I think her brother came and shot him. I don't know the story, but let me get straight to it. The news can tell you better than I can.
Hello and welcome to 11 Alive Midday at 11. I'm Aisha Howard. At this hour, police are still searching for a motive behind the shooting death of Atlanta rapper T. Hood, the son of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta stars Rashida and Kirk Frost, now named a suspect. 11 Alive, Stephanie Chaynock joining us from the newsroom. Seth, the investigation is still ongoing, but now police are saying it could have been self-defense.
Yeah, Aisha, that's the very latest. Gwinnett County Police are still investigating, but say self-defense could be behind the shooting death of 33-year-old rapper Tevin Hood, also known as T. Hood. And there are a lot of moving pieces being shared into this investigation. Gwinnett County Police have named the 24-year-old son of reality stars Kirk and Rashida Frost, Kai Frost, as a suspect in the rapper's death. We also know the home where Friday's deadly shooting happened lists their daughter, Kelsey Frost, as a resident. And according to social media posts, she and the rapper seem to have been in a relationship. If you watch the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta reality series, then you are very familiar with the Frost family. It was on October 9th, police found Hood shot inside a home in Snellville around 7 p.m. Police say Kai Frost and other witnesses remained on the scene after the shooting. In an update released yesterday, police now say the shooting is being investigated as a possible self-defense case. According to the latest report, Gwinnett County Police say a domestic disturbance occurred at the residence, resulting in a female victim sustaining physical injuries, and that the shooter arrived to the residence after a physical altercation had taken place and then separated himself from the residence before the shooting occurred. After the rapper's death, Kelsey Frost, his alleged girlfriend, posted photos of the two together on her Instagram page. The caption, Aisha, reading, "I love you." Aisha, we did reach out to both Kelsey Frost and her father, Kirk Frost, for a comment this morning. We have not yet heard back. Also to mention, Aisha, this morning, her brother, Kai Frost, the suspect in this shooting, his Instagram page seems to have been deactivated. All right, very early on, Seth.
All right, let's get Proverbs 15:2. And while you look for that, I'm gonna see if I can get this video up. No, I think they logged me off. Okay. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 2. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. Now, if you listen to one of his songs, you probably won't listen to, you know what I mean, another one. You'd be like, I'm good. You know what I mean? I can live without this. And not to talk about the brother, but just to be honest, like, wasn't really, had the most positive message. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure somebody can get on here and say, nah, that's not the case. Hold on. No, that's not the case. I've listened to his music since forever, and he was, a solid dude, this, that, and the third, right? But, okay, here we go. What you're not going to do is, you can't disregard the antics, you know what I'm saying? The music was not, not positive, and the antics, like he's in the graveyard sitting in a chair, with a hood on, with a sheet on his head with glasses and blood coming out you know what I'm saying? That's not the move, right? Let's see if anything more. So this is the video, right? Let me see if it play.
Hello, are you still alive? We are dead down here in the cemetery. Come down to the cemetery. I have a spot for you. I have big spot, little spot. We have humongous spot. All you have to do is die. Just die today. You die today, you get to come and play. Come on down.
Let's get Luke 6:25. He got his signature dreadlock hanging out the side. And this, I don't know when this happened, but I think this was like a week. His death comes a few weeks after posting an Instagram video dressed as a ghost. To promote his song Gravediggers, the rapper had a white sheet over his head with red paint around his eyes. Luke chapter 6:25. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. So, you know, thinking it's a good idea to make a video laughing about people dying and, you know what I mean? Come on down, we got a grave for you, and this, then the third, like thinking that, oh, this is going to go viral. It most certainly did after he died. You know what I'm saying? People are, look at that. You got to watch what you say. All right, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 5. See what I said on that? Yeah, so, you know, taking pictures in a graveyard as a ghost, it ain't the smartest thing in the world, man. You know? But you listen to what he's rapping about, you be like, all right, kind of makes sense. You know, if you're rapping about trash, you're going to do trash things, and, you know, trash things going to be around you. And then, you know, judgment is soon to come. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 5. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. All right. And that's, you know, that's what we're talking about there. It's a song of fools. All right. So figuring out like now.
Shalom.
Somebody said Slakia?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, 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 everybody. Shabbat shalom. Ashar Shabbat. Can you put that? Can you put that up again? You don't have to play the whole video. Just put the image up. Yo, how people.
Right.
Oh my goodness, it's funny, but it's not funny. Yo, these niggas. And then you wonder why they get killed. Then they wonder, well, not my baby.
It's your baby.
Right? What was that Eazy-E said on that song? My baby ain't never hurt nobody, but he still got smoked at Baby's party. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, what you mean your baby ain't never hurt nobody? Somebody give me Jeremiah 5:23. Yo, look at that. People. Yo, these Negroes are gone. That's why Trump coming to a city near them also. Right? He need to go to Atlanta. He need to go to Philly. He need to go to Chicago. You know, not DC where the damn crime is down. And if you're going to police, then do active policing and do law-abiding policing. You know, abide by the law and stop the real crime that's going on out there that your government set up, your government and CIA set up anyway. So you know how to stop it because you putting the guns and the drugs and setting it up where brothers don't have proper jobs and training and programs in the neighborhood to keep them busy so the crime won't be as high. We know there's going to be crime. There's going to be crime because people are going to make criminal choices, but do better government, set up better government, and you would avoid a lot of these problems in these inner cities. But Jeremiah 5:23, read that, King.
Con, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 5, verse 23.
Shalakia, there's no reader for this week?
Uh,
I know you've been basically reading for yourself.
I read.
Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Can y'all hear me?
Con.
All right, go ahead. You read that for me, and then let's get a designated reader. Because Kasaja has been holding it down. Jeremiah 5:23.
Con. But this people have a revolting and rebellious heart.
It said our people have a revolting and rebellious heart. Where did the Most High tell us to do that? Where they do that at? Where do we dress up in a damn, you damn near look like a damn Klansman. You look like a death angel Klansman to your own people. All right, read on.
They are revolted and gone.
The Lord said our people are revolted and they're gone. You know, that's hip talk in the Bible. When somebody's bugged out, they crazy, not to make fun of people with mental illness, but they be like, yo, that dude is gone, man. Yo, that nigga right there, yo, he ain't wrapped too tight. That dude ain't here, man. The lights are on, but nobody's home. That dude ain't wrapped too tight. That dude is gone. See that? That's how you know the Most High's a Jake. He speaks in hip talk. Yo, y'all niggas is gone. Right? Read it again, Jeremiah 5:23.
Con, this book of Jeremiah, chapter 5, verse 23. But this people have a revolting and rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone.
The Lord said they are revolted and gone. Our people are gone. And now he got killed a few days after that?
I think a few weeks.
A few weeks, yeah. See that? Our people are gone, man. They are revolted and they are gone. Go on mute. Go on mute. Put your phones on mute. I shouldn't be hearing myself on the feedback. But this is what's going on with our people, man. Our people are revolted, and the Most High said they are gone. They are bugged out of their minds. Like I was bringing out last week, they're fighting over wigs. They're rioting. These so-called black women and everybody, they always want to say you stereotyping sisters. No. A lot of times the stereotypes are true in some cases. You have your portion, okay, that's all they're going to show. Yeah, but one incident is one too many. A lot of times our people say, well, that's the way they show us in the media. Well, let's not even give them that to show. That one incident, if every other so-called black woman, or not to make it just about sisters, black man is going off, is doing the right thing, let's not have that one incident. We know that's in a perfect Israelite world because we under these curses, but we have decreased to the level of dressing up in a damn white sheet that is ridiculous. Our brothers, man, they're oppie and yeah, come on down. You can get a free trip to the graveyard. Or whatever the hell he said. I'm paraphrasing. This is bad, man. But the Lord said what, man? Hell, in another part of Jeremiah, the Lord called our people a bunch of degenerates. He said they're a bunch of wild asses, excuse my expression, wild donkeys. So this is what we've decreased to. But at the same time, you almost got to rejoice because it's prophecy. It'll get bad before it get worse. We will go to such a low degenerate state, and then the Most High going to lift us up and give us the kingdom. And then you got the remnant of Israel, that's rejoicing and trying to do the right thing. Even though it's creeping up in Israel now, this same type of spirit. This brother announced, and I spoke to the brother too. I was like, what the hell is that all about, Ak? The brother announces that he's an 8-trade gangster Crip, a guerrilla Hebrew. And then now the 8-trade gangster Crips, they get locked up on a child prostitution RICO charge the next day. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. The Most High said, no. You will not announce a gang affiliation and it's just gonna go down like that. No, the next day that gang is gonna get locked the hell up on a RICO charge of child prostitution. I think I said molestation, child prostitution out in LA on Figueroa. And I've been through Figueroa before. You can go on YouTube and watch videos on Figueroa. It's bad out there. Hundreds, thousands of our young Southern and Northern Kingdom sisters out there selling their bodies. And you want to be affiliated with the gang that's putting young, and they were going to group homes getting, I'm pretty sure y'all heard about it, or the brother might show the video, but I'm just saying all this behavior amongst our people. And then Israel should not be involved in that at all. You should have no affiliation with that. If you want to go in and get the gang members out, then you go and teach them. Yahushua, when he went amongst the publican and sinners, he taught them, he talked with them, and he was out. He wasn't doing what they was doing. You know, so this behavior is crazy amongst our people. But the Most High said they are revolted and they are gone. And the only one that can bring them back is the Most High. So you see the behavior. That's why we gotta put our face in these scriptures, because we see these scriptures are real. The Most High said in this, right here in this verse, our people are gone. And you see the gone behavior. How are you rioting and fighting over some damn colorful wigs? Just go change your diet, get hair growth, whatever, stuff for your hair to grow, or embrace your natural hair. Just take care of your natural hair. Get into your wearing your head wraps. But sisters ain't gonna do that. They're gonna go out there and fight and riot over a damn colorful wig. Have a damn uprising. And brothers, this ain't the first dude to go to the graveyard. Mr. Disrespectful from Philly. He was going to the graveyard. Other rappers was going to the graveyard. You know, they shoot up each other's funerals. They shoot at the families at, I think it was somewhere, they shot up the graveyard. The family went to the funeral, and the dudes came to the gate of the graveyard and started shooting at the funeral. So our people are gone, man. If we don't see that these scriptures are coming to life, and we better tighten up and stop worried about posting folly on social media and going back and forth with each other and seeing the state that we're in as a people. But you have the remnant of Israel that's going to come out of that and not be gone and see this Bible is real and is manifesting before our eyes. Then, you know, you're not really in this truth. You're not really paying attention. You're not really looking at the bigger picture of what's really going on. So the Lord said our people are revolted and gone. This dude is bogged out. Damn near look like a semi-Klansman. And that's what he is, murdering and killing and destroying his own people. I land with that. These Negroes are gone, and the Bible says it. Kwame Shala.
Kwame Shala. And they get killed by a reality TV celebrity child, a child of a celebrity, you know, reality TV, I don't know, star, I guess. Is that what they, you know, I don't know. I don't really watch the reality TV stuff, so I can't tell you. But or as far as the, you know, Housewives of Atlanta or Hip Hop Atlanta and all that. But yeah, serious business, you know. And like it says, people of your own household, you know what I mean? In that situation, because he had a domestic issue, I believe, with the sister, and she called her brother over, or her brother happened to come over, I don't know. But he ended up dead, you know what I mean? So putting your hands on, you know, somebody's sister, daughter, cousin, whatever, you know, you might think I can beat her, but then when uncle come over with the full, you know what I mean, or the baseball bat, it's like, no, man, we got to talk about it. Some people don't like to talk, so you know, situations like that, it's best to just, you know, separate and come back at a later date when emotions are more calm. But either way, in a situation where you kind of like laughing at people that are dead or making mockery of that, you know, you kind of signed your own death warrant with no repentance. And I didn't hear about that with Gorilla Hebrew and the Crips and all that. It's like the Most High, right? You don't know, you're going to get judged, right? You do something you ain't had no business doing. You're going to get judged. That judgment could be the ultimate, like T Hood, or it could be, you know, you get stung by the hornets. You know, you open up the hornet's nest, and then the Most High just keeps stinging you and stinging you, you know, until you get yourself together. But you don't know which one you're going to get. So it's best to aim to not mess up at all. You know what I mean? So you don't get the hornets, and you don't get that death blow from sinning. You know what I mean? Most High can take us at any time. You know, you could be righteous. You know, the men of the Bible, they got taken as well for the most part. Enoch, Elijah, but
Shalakia.
Khan.
Shalakia King. With the Gorilla Hebrew situation, yeah, you know, stuff happened in Israel. Sometimes we don't hear about everything. But I remember you know, to all of you brothers and sisters on here, I remember a while back, Kasaja was doing a class, and Kasaja said, look, you know, I've witnessed many spiritual things since I've been in HOI. And it's not to boast and brag on the camp, but, you know, it's a spirit where you can't make this up. And when Gorilla Hebrew announced it on No Jumper, and then he took the picture with them, I talked to him a day or two after that. I personally talked to the brother. I asked him about it. So, you know, this ain't to down the brother or slander, whatever. I'm just saying, you know, I'm not going to get into all the nature of our conversation, of course, but I said, yo, what's up with that? Well, you know what I'm saying? I said, you know, it's not a good look, brother. He was like, well, I've been claiming that. I don't know why everybody's acting so surprised, but he was saying it's a method to his madness. So I was like, okay, whatever that means. But I guess he's gonna say I'm amongst them because I'm teaching them, and I'm gonna get. That's the only thing that would make sense to me, right? But going back to that, you can't make this up, and you see a lot of spiritual things. The day after that, the same set, the Hoover Crips, they get locked up. The feds run down on them, and they catch a federal RICO charge of child prostitution. The day after a major Israelite figure announces that he's part of that gang. Now here's the icing on the cake. That ain't even what they call it now, the tea. That ain't even all the tea. Go back, if y'all go, it's in one of the chats, Shower Paw shared it. Shower Paw shared in one of the chats, he shared a video with a reporter talking about the arrest. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I believe she said the 11 main suspects are in custody, but they're looking for one more suspect, and his name is Brian Israel.
That's
11 plus 1 is 12. I believe that's what they said. I believe it was 11 suspects. The reporter said, this is the video that Shaba Parr shared, I think in the Instagram chat. I'll go back and look. I'll reshare it. She said 11 suspects are already in custody, and they're looking for a 12th suspect by the name of Brian Israel. What 8-trade gangster Crip from Hoover? What Hoover Crip? I think 8-trade has a different set, if I'm not mistaken. What Hoover Crip set member has a last name Israel? The day after a major Israelite announces that he's Hoover Crip affiliated. You can't make this up.
Wow.
You cannot make this up. The reporter said that I think he was the 12th suspect that they were looking for, and his name is Brian Israel. That is scary. A day after a major Israelite figure announces that he's a Hoover Crip. Come on, the writing is on the wall. And after I spoke to him, I'm not trying to make it about me. I was actually speaking to the brother about something totally different, but I was like, I said, Ak, while I'm talking to you, what's up with this Hoover? I mean, you know. But anyway, it's deeper than even with him, because I believe I know what's going on with that. But you can't make this up. The Most High, it's scary how he operates sometimes. It's scary in righteousness, if that makes sense. So we better get it together, family. That was quick. The brother announced it on No Jumper. He showed the picture, and now the OG he took the picture with, they're saying he was a homo in jail, getting popped in his behind, and he ended up killing the other gang member. There was another gang member that was raping him. This is allegedly. There was another gang member that was raping him, and he stabbed the gang member up and killed him. He got off on the case because they got a law in California prisons where if you can prove that you were being raped or sexually assaulted by another inmate, and you assaulted them or killed them, you can get less time, or you can actually beat the case if you can prove that they were raping you. Which I don't know how they would prove that. I guess they got to have an exam back there, but I'll leave that alone. But allegedly, this is allegedly, because he claimed ain't no dude violate me. It was nothing sexual. It was over a beef. But other Hoover Crips are saying that no, he's lying. He was being raped by this other gangbanger in the California prison, and he stabbed the other gangbanger to death, and he got off on it. And the other gangbanger said he got off because there's a law in a California prison where if you can prove somebody was raping you and you put in that work on them, you can possibly beat that case. And this is the so-called OG that he took the picture next to. And all this came out this week. Come on, man, you can't make this up. Man, Israel, you better get right. The Most High is not playing. He said, oh yeah, right. Soon as you announce that and put the picture up, I'ma judge that game set. I'ma show they into all kinds of child prostitution, homosexuality, all that. So the Most High is not playing. You cannot make this stuff up. I land on that. Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala. He says scary in righteousness. And you would think a gang RICO act, it would be something towards violent crime. You know what I mean? Like kidnapping and homicide and drug selling and all that. But it's dealing with sexual natures. You know what I mean? So the next day, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of scary in righteousness, you know? So it goes on with it actually segues perfectly into the next video. You know what I mean? It talks about these mutant rabbits that are showing up in Colorado, right? Looks like the Walking Dead rabbits or Resident Evil rabbits. You know what I mean? And how the Most High will mock you with whatever you're into, like he did the Egyptians. You know what I mean? They're the Egyptian gods. You know, he send flies. You know what I mean? He those things that they worship, the beetles and all that. The things that they worship, the Most High destroy them with it. You know what I mean? And he does that. That's something he does. So with his situation that we were just talking about, you know, we all know how everything played out with his situation, and to big up a gang, and then the gang goes down for those sexual type situations. You know what I mean? Not necessarily that, but in that type of nature, you know what I mean? It's not gang related drive-bys and all that. It should really put you on notice that he's listening to everything. He's watching everything. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get right for real. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon 11 verse 15. That's wild. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon 11 verse 15. But for the foolish devices of their wickedness, wherewith being deceived, they worship serpents void of reason, and vile beasts. Thou didst send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance. Verse 16, that they might know that wherewithal a man sinneth, by the same also shall he be punished. You know, so if everybody want to celebrate with Easter and bunny rabbits, see if these bunny rabbits lay eggs. See if you can get them on an Easter egg hunt. These things look like walking dead rabbits.
It seems rabbits enjoy living in Fort Collins just as much as people. They're often spotted hopping through neighborhoods looking for grub. But some Southeast Fort Collins neighbors noticed bunnies were cute. Wasn't exactly the word that came to mind. I snapped this photo of one of the rabbits I've seen with the growth. I also saw this photo posted on Reddit, also spotted in Fort Collins.
Like a scabbyish looking kind of growth over her face.
Looks like it was black quills or black toothpicks sticking out all around his mouth.
Susan Mansfield said she saw a different bunny with tentacles in her yard in recent years.
He had the same black stuff on him, and I thought he would die off during the winter, but he didn't. He came back a second year, and it grew.
Some
Yes, I have.
feel bad for our tiny neighbors.
If they have, something that, we can help them with.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife confirms this is a virus that's not contagious to other animals like people's dogs, but they say leave this wildlife alone like you would with any of the neighborhood bunnies.
We thank you for watching and
You say, yeah, it's not dangerous. Just don't go near him. You know what I'm saying? He won't do anything to you, like bite you, and then all of a sudden you get tentacles coming out your mouth. I'm cool. I'm cool with the mutant rabbits. You know what I'm saying? But the Most High, as you see, continues to judge America. You know what I mean? So they want to celebrate Easter, and Easter was an interesting time this year, right around Passover. It was a rabbit that got sucked into a plane engine, right? And the plane crashed, or they had to land, an emergency landing because of a rabbit. I don't know. But something, and then right around that time, the Pope died, right around the time so-called Easter. So here we go. Now we got mutant rabbits in Colorado. Put that on your bingo card. All right. Let's get another plague. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 11. And I didn't know that the spotted lanternfly, right? It came in there. It's like, hey, if you see one, kill one, and all this other stuff. They're very invasive. They will fly and land on your shoulder or whatever. They don't scare easily. But apparently they are a huge economic hit in America. Giving America a huge economic hit. Jeremiah 50 verse 11. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, O ye destroyers of my heritage, because you are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Verse 13. Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at her plagues. This spotted lanternfly is eating up the crops in America. Let's get 2 Ezra 15, verse 12 on deck. And let's watch the next video. Good breakdown of what these things are, where they came from Esau.
You might have heard about a particularly dangerous insect in the news over the last few years. The name makes them almost sound charming. Spotted lanternflies. It sounds like they'd be fireflies with adorable Dalmatian spots. And they are actually kind of pretty. They have yellow bumblebee-like stripes on their bodies and red hind wings with black spots. But when they are outside of their native range, spotted lanternflies are anything but charming, because they are yet another invasive species that could cause a lot of harm to the environment and to our food supply if they continue to spread. So let's talk about these pretty little insects and why they pose such a huge threat. Spotted lanternflies, also known as Lycorma delicatula, are originally from China, Japan, and Vietnam. But these bugs have started to expand outside of their native range to places like South Korea and way outside their range into the US. And they haven't actually been here very long. Spotted lanternfly eggs probably first arrived in 2012 in a shipment of cut stone. But they've made the most of that time. In just their first 12 years here, they have already spread to at least 14 states. The spotted lanternflies' preferred food is the tree of heaven, which, despite the name, isn't a very heavenly sort of tree. For one thing, these trees are also invasive in the United States and cause a lot of problems for our local biomes. In the US, groves of this tree of heaven rapidly crowd out native plants, and they can even produce chemicals that ensure other plants can't compete with them for resources. Female trees of heaven can produce more than 300,000 seeds a year, so this is clearly a plant bent on world domination. So you would think having something around that eats that tree would be a good thing, but unfortunately that has not proved to be the case. Because the tree of heaven is so prolific, it ends up helping to facilitate the spread of spotted lanternflies, since they could just bop into whatever territory the trees have already invaded. The spotted lanternfly normally kicks off its life cycle on this tree. It lays eggs in the fall, the adults die in the winter, and the eggs hatch in the spring. But the thing is, unlike some other bugs that are adapted to a particular host plant, spotted lanternflies can eat and lay eggs on other things too. They don't need the tree of heaven to complete their life cycle. And as we've already established, these eggs don't even need to be on like a plant. Sometimes they're on cut stones, which is how they got here. Manufactured items like campers, barbecue grills, and outdoor furniture are all at risk of being unwitting lanternfly nurseries. And these little guys are bloodsuckers, kinda. They're phloem feeders, which means they eat sap. They're tree bloodsuckers. Because sap is basically plant blood, and when it leaks out, it hardens into a kind of scab to protect the wounds on the plant's surface. So, to get their favorite snack flowing, these bugs have to damage the outside of their host plant, which leaves them vulnerable to infections. And then there's the honeydew. And I do not mean the melon. Because the spotted lanternfly's diet is high in sugar, their waste is also sweet. It's so sweet that scientists call it honeydew. And despite its pleasant name and not unpleasant taste, it is nasty stuff. The sugars in the waste encourage the growth of mold, which is not something you want happening on your crops. And yes, aside from the tree of heaven, they love to chow down on our food crops. Stuff people depend on, like corn, grapes, and soybeans, as well as non-edible but still important plants like trees for timber. Corn and soybeans are the two biggest crops in the United States, and they also happen to be some major spotted lanternfly targets, which means these insects have the potential to threaten major food supply chains for all of us. In Pennsylvania, experts think spotted lanternflies may cost the state's agriculture and logging industries around $500 million annually, at least in their worst case scenario. And spotted lanternflies have only been in Pennsylvania since 2014, so they can start causing mayhem pretty quickly. As with all invasive species, controlling spotted lanternflies is going to be challenging, but there is still hope. So it turns out that there's a crucial time of year when spotted lanternflies are sitting ducks. Since adults die out in the winter, there are always a few months of the year where there aren't any more of them laying eggs, and the eggs they have produced are vulnerable and squishable. This makes manual egg removal a partial strategy, though it's a bit like playing whack-a-mole, which means that researchers are pretty invested in finding efficient ways to find these eggs. One of the cutest potential solutions is scent hounds, which can be trained to detect the eggs so a human can then squish them. Less cute, but still a decent alternative, people can be trained to find the eggs. The Tree of Heaven is the first place you should look, since that's their favorite snack. It's easy to spot the egg masses, which are about 1 inch long and resemble a dull brown mud smear. Experts also say that anybody who spots a lanternfly's telltale spots in their area should report them to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service or your local agency with an invasive species council. Once the lanternflies are found, those agencies can use eradication methods like pesticides and sticky traps, though always these come with a risk of capturing native beneficial insects. Other researchers are developing biopesticides that specifically target spotted lanternflies or recruiting their natural enemies, such as a fungus that can colonize the spotted lanternfly. As with other invasive species, especially in the earliest days, diligence is key. And that is what you need to know about the spotted lanternfly. While they are just the latest in a long line of problematic invasive species, it's worth knowing about them because we are still in a position to control the spread of this one. So if you spot these troublesome spots near you, now you know what to do.
All right, so now you have spotted lanternflies, right? They've been here for a while, you know, I mean, not a while, he said Pennsylvania, 2014, and they were saying you see them, just squish them, you know what I mean? Because they're eating up all the crops. So they're almost like a different, like a form of locusts. I know locusts will devour areas at a time, you know what I mean? Like if you got a whole bunch of locusts in a cornfield, that cornfield is gonna be gone soon, you know what I mean? If they just keep eating. But the spotted lanternfly seemed like a little a slow death, you know what I mean? A slow death, increased famine, and increased you know, how much it costs for goods and services, you know, fruits and vegetables that they enjoy. Over time, only been here for, what they say, since 2014, a little over 10 years. Here we go. So let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the Slakia. Yeah. Oh, verse 12. Verse 11, Slakia. And I will bring upon them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and will smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague, and the punishment of God, the punishment that God shall bring upon it. So this is another punishment, another plague from Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Small guys, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't take big lions and tigers and bears to systematically break down and destroy a country. Little spotted lanternflies. Okay. Let's continue on with the Sixth Sense. So it's just more like you can see what's going on. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, a spotted lanternfly. I heard about them a while ago. Are they still here? You know, I see one every now and then. Yeah, they're here. They're on the Tree of Heaven, making more spotted lanternflies, and they're going to destroy the crops in the United States. We can see it coming. All right, here it's here. Let's continue on. Let's talk about the Subway smash. Esau ain't playing no games, man. You know what I'm saying? When Esau not happy, he'll get a Subway sandwich, buy it, and throw it at a federal officer. Now, we've seen the Palestinians throwing rocks at Israeli tanks, but when you see Esau, you haven't lived to see Esau throw a Subway sandwich at a federal officer with a daggone state-of-the-art machine gun on his shoulder. Let's get Matthew 12 and 25. They're falling apart, man. And this guy had a decent job. He's working for the Department of Justice. This dude was working for the government. Talk about fighting and infighting. This is infighting. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. You know? they're not gonna be able to stand. Okay. Let's watch the video and come back. So that's what happened to America. They're collapsing, internally collapsing. Actually, if you look at, I think they might have it in this video, but residents, Karatazar was down there, you know what I mean, going live in the area. There's the city's coming out and like booing the police officers and the federales. You know what I'm saying? So they're fighting against each other. You know, Trump, oh, we're gonna get this crime underway. And they're like, man, if you don't go somewhere with that. So this is how folks are reacting. See, check out main man in the pink shirt. He is not happy. And he just went to Subway. So them cops about to figure out what's going on, you know.
See these fascists right here. Fascists? You.
Slocky, I swear that's Jake filming because he's laughing like, yeah, go ahead, like kind of like encourage him. Yeah, they fascists, right? What you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? You know how Jake is. But let's keep watching. Charged with a felony. So think about it like this, right? If this video never went viral, if the guy was never filming, we wouldn't hear about this. But you got the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, talking about it. You know, it's on, you know, viral news stations, this, that, and the third, because they had to make an example of him so people don't do this. You know how they do that with us? Like if one person stands up and, you know what I mean? Back in Willie Lynch slave times, you know, you got to beat the big nigga with in front of everybody, and you know what I mean? All that. And you know, going towards Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, so forth and so on. You got somebody that stands up for their people, America will attack that person, you know what I'm saying, and make an example in front of everybody. So they're doing it to Esau now, saying he's charged with a felony of assaulting an officer and all this, because it might get people riled up like, shoot, let's all go to Subway and get a Subway sandwich. You know what I'm saying? This one's going towards the Border Patrol and this one's going towards the National Guard, like, and Esau just will have like a revolution uh like the Tea Party and start throwing Subway sandwiches at everybody. So they try and get in front of this thing to make sure, you know, nobody gets any ideas.
The president's message to the criminals was, if you spit, we hit. Well, we didn't quite do that the other night when an individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
So this guy could be an Edomite hero. You know what I mean? Like, no, we're not part of MAGA. We don't like this. You know, that guy, hey man, everybody go to Subway, man, and let's, you know what I mean? So they have to say he's getting charged with a felony and scare everybody. But I don't know if it's gonna work, y'all. I don't know. Let's read verse 26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? How you gonna keep going, man? You know what I mean? So that is the Subway smash happening in DC. We'll see what happens as a result, but you know, it's like that movie. I think it's you'll see A Bug's Life, where the ants had to serve the grasshoppers, and then one ant stood up, and then they realized they outnumbered the grasshoppers. You know, whether Esau will take that step, you know what I mean? Because they're not going in their neighborhoods and stopping and frisking them and seeing if Edomites are drinking beer or smoking on their steps. But you know, the way the Most High got this mapped out, they're going against each other. So keep an eye on that. All right. Speaking of going against each other, let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 24. Esau they're starting riots among themselves. It's getting bad. It's getting bad. You know, who raises them? I don't know. Wolves, perhaps. But the police have room. You know what I mean? The funny part is they're going after us. The plan is to go after us, but Esau's getting in the way of that, throwing Subway sandwiches at them and so forth and so on. All right. They're getting us for fare evasions and all that other stuff. But that's not to give Jake a out. You know what I mean? Jake got to get it together, follow these law, statutes, commandments, get some protection, because it ain't gonna stop. It's only gonna get worse. All right, so let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 24. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. Slacky, am I? This is it, right? Okay. With those that dwell therein. The springs and the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours shall they not run. Okay. So friends fighting against each other is something that's going on in Esauville. It's a riot. You probably might have seen this video. They're not going to show you the whole thing because, of course, this is the news. If you want to watch the real thing, be my guest. All right. All right, but this is look at that guy. Look, you can watch the where's Paul's at? You see main man on the ground kissing the dirt. They're all friends too. That's the thing. Everybody that's fighting right now are friends. So the Most High put the spirit on them and said, y'all ain't friends no more. Enjoy.
The big story at 5:30. Take a look at this video from Lake Winterset in Polk County. This caught the sheriff's attention. He calls it a riot and says deputies arrested a handful of participants on various charges.
But residents.
Okay, now that's hilarious. I'm sorry. I'm not going to keep rewinding it, but notice how Esau gets knocked out while they're talking, right? Look how she starts giving him like chest compressions like he's dead. I'm sorry. That's probably doing a lot more damage than it's helping. I don't think he stopped breathing, but just watch the background of the boy that's laid out and watch Seesaw hop in. Start to get this man probably some mouth-to-mouth recession, but he ain't dead.
Look at this video from Lake Winterset in Polk County. This caught the sheriff's attention. He calls it a riot and says deputies arrested a handful of participants on various charges.
But residents along that lake say this isn't the first time they've seen inappropriate behavior. And they tell Fox 35's Carla Byron they've had enough.
It's an all-out brawl on Lake Winterset.
One man is knocked out cold, while others are pummeled, all while a child watches from a boat.
We're gonna lock y'all up until you figure out that you can't misbehave in the community, that you can't fight, that you can't knock people unconscious. It's over, folks.
This brawl happened on August 2nd on a private vacant lot that looks like a small island. Polk County deputies arrested 8 people who they say were all friends at one point, including a 17-year-old minor. But this fight wasn't a one-off. RJ Webb's parents live on the shoreline, and he says this kind of inappropriate behavior, including sexual behavior, has been happening for years.
He can't even have my kids swim at my grandparents' house or have them outside on the weekends with how bad and how vulgar some of the music is. And then with the fights happening down there, it's only a matter of time before someone pulls a gun out or something like that.
We have historically tried to warn, to educate, because we want families together on our lakes having a good time together. But these kind of knuckleheads here doing this stuff just disrupts everything.
The county recently passed an ordinance to address this issue by establishing boating restriction zones and designated swim areas. However, it has not yet gone into effect. The Secretary of State and FWC are working with the county's attorneys to see how the ordinance can be tweaked to become enforceable. The sheriff's office also wants to work with the county to enhance the noise ordinance on the lake.
We want everyone out on the lake, enjoying the lake, but tie up and swim around your boats like everyone's done forever. You shouldn't be in someone's backyard.
You can start on the lake this weekend and get you a nice suntan before we lock you up in the jail where we don't have any sun lamps.
In Polk County, Carla Byron, Fox 35 News.
You know it's bad when the sheriff starts like spitting, you know what I mean? It was kind of like bars, you know what I'm saying? You can get your suntan, but we ain't got no lamps. Like, you got jokes. Yeah, they were raised by a bunch of Karens. You know what I'm saying? Right on, guys. Raised by a bunch of Karens. You know, they can't even get their emotions in order. You know, we're having a good time. There's children here. These people are like, you know, they're just completely violent. You know, it's unbelievable, but believable. Let's go to Psalm 140, verse 11. A riot. 8 people arrested. You know, and then they talk about us where we get shot down and we have protests that turn out of control and this, that, and the third. Like, look at them. They don't have any home training. These people are supposed to be having a good time. They showed up together, you know, and that's the spirit that I pray Most High continues to put that spirit on them, because when they start getting to drinking and, you know what I mean, having a good time, so forth and so on, that spirit rouse them up, and they're like, remember that $5 you owe me? And they start rumbling. You know, I pray it comes less on us and more on them. Psalm chapter 140, verse 11. Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. So let's get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? By the strength and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We didn't have to lift a finger. 8 Edomites in jail. I think they're all Esau. Anyway, if you're hanging around a bunch of Edomites, then guess what? You gonna catch it as well. All right. Let's see what's happening in California. Governor Gavin Newsom apparently has ICE agents hanging outside his press conference. So Trump is sending federal agents to the governor of California's press conference for intimidation purposes, possibly to eventually arrest him. This is an amazing thing to see. All right. And let's get 2nd Ezra 15 and 16 on deck.
And I'm reminded where we are at this precious moment in time. We are in Los Angeles. the most diverse city in the most diverse county, in the most diverse state, in the world's most diverse democracy. I've long believed that the world looks to us, to all of you, to see it as possible to live together, advance together, and prosper together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. What makes LA great, what makes California great, and what makes the United States of America great is that at our best, we don't tolerate our diversity, we celebrate our diversity. And it's a point of pride, because we're all in this together. Where are we? At Democracy Center. And right outside, at this exact moment, are dozens and dozens of ICE agents. Donald Trump, you think it's coincidental? No. Donald Trump and his minions, Tom Homan, so they decided, coincidentally or not, that this was a location to advance our service. Indiscriminate? Perhaps. We'll find out later. Was certainly indiscriminate when a 15-year-old disabled boy had a gun put to his head in Los Angeles trying to go to school just a few days ago. I don't need to belabor this, except I want to level set. People are scared. People are fearful. Yeah, the United States Senator was thrown down on the ground. Yeah. In a federal building. Alex Padilla. JD Vance's name is Alex Padilla, not Jose Padilla. That's the Vice President of the United States.
So they just.
All right. So sending federal agents outside the press conference of the California governor. This is definitely what we see as a tearing away, a falling apart. You know what I mean? Okay. Nice orb of light just went past during that time. What were we talking about? The falling away of Babylon. And this was happening. Babylon's falling away. There's angels everywhere. You got to see it. You got to pay attention. You got to repent. This is serious. This is happening. All right. That's why this is called Sixth Sense. Got to have that intuition kick in. You know what I mean? Don't fall away now. You know what I mean? Something you have to build up. You know, ask the Most High to build it up for you. Okay. And you'll see that it's amazing things that are happening all around us. You know, you just got to open up your eyes, witness it, and then remember. Hom Yashala, we got next. All right. Let me just do a timestamp on that real quick. Because I'm going to go back, and I'm going to look at it, and see that this is very real, okay? Angels ascending and descending. Happens all the time. All right. I pray that you understand how crucial your words, your thoughts, and your actions are in this time period. That you pay attention, that you don't forget, that you continue to move forward, because time is short. All right. Let's get Second Ezra. Matter of fact, Salakia, where we're at. Let's get Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 16. Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely take this serious, Israel. Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Okay, they don't care. It's governor. You know what I mean? I'm a border patrol agent. I'll arrest you. You know, that's what type of mentality is happening. You know, you're a Democrat, Republican, and they're serious. We should know that's WWF, but some people really taking this thing seriously, you know, to the point of civil war. And the way Yahweh Shem Shai is setting this thing up, they're in the echo chamber. So if you're Republican, you're hearing nothing but Republican things and these Democrats and they're doing this. And if you're a Democrat, you're same thing. The Republicans are doing this. So by the time you actually meet a Republican or a Democrat, it's like that hate is serious. And, you know, they're ready to kill each other, you know? And this is what the scripture says is going to happen. And this is what is happening. All right, let's go to stay in second Ezra. Let's go to chapter 9 and verse 5. We're going to talk about a manifestation of the end. You know, yeah, you're talking about bunny rabbits, huh? And spotted lanternflies. Spotted lanternflies been around for years. Tell me something new. Tell me something I don't know. Well, how did the meeting between Trump and Putin go yesterday? And why did they meet? Why did they meet in Alaska? Putin has he has a warrant out for his arrest, international court. You're supposed to arrest him as soon as he touches down in Alaska. But that didn't happen. So what did happen? Let's talk about it. Now, this gentleman that we're about to watch, he is an Israelite, even though he doesn't, you know, look the part, as you will. You know, oh, he looks white. You know what I mean? You gotta understand that. When you look at him, his features, you can kind of tell. But it's not really until you start meeting people, hitting the streets, you notice that, damn, everybody that's an Israelite doesn't look like an Israelite. You know what I mean? You gotta actually, I don't say dig deep, because not going into vain philosophies, genealogies, and everything like that. But like they father, you know what I'm saying? Might be just very, very fair skin. Okay. That happened, Slocky. I'm not gonna go off the course. Dr. Umar took a picture with this it's a sister, says, "Don't call me white girl." That's her handle in Philly. And she's black. She's black parents, you know what I'm saying? But she's just very, very fair skinned. And people giving Dr. Umar a hard time, like, "What are you messing with these white girls? I thought you weren't messing with white girls." But everybody in Philly knows who she is. So it's like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. She's actually Jake, or Eve rather. You know what I mean? But same thing with the brother we're about to watch. But let's get Second Ezra chapter 9 and verse 5. 9 verse 5. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. One thing he's going to bring out, which I want you, you know, he has the names and dates. I don't know. The names and dates, he talks about before this war, these two people met and shook hands. Before that war, these two people met. You know what I mean? Like, this is normal. Before you go engage into a major war, the heads of state sit back and talk and like, yo, what can we do to alleviate this? You know what I mean? So the first initial reports, oh, it was a great meeting, everything was great, da 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 da. You know, they always say that, you know, but then it's like, if you're not doing what we ask you to do or tell you to do, we're going to war with you. And this is where we're at. In America versus Russia. I don't know how I play the whole thing, but when he starts, he starts off with information, boom, information, but then further and further along he goes, he starts giving his opinion. So we might cut it at that, but it's like we'll cut it then. But let's watch it.
So they just flew a nuclear capable stealth bomber over Vladimir Putin's head. And everybody's just like, that happens every day. They just flew a nuclear capable stealth bomber over the president of Russia's head. You could decode that messaging from space if you were an alien and you didn't speak the language and you didn't understand the culture, that is foreshadowing. That's a decapitation strike, foreshadowing. You get me? We averted the near-term risk of nuclear crisis because Vladimir Putin is back in Russian airspace. His plane is about to land. But this is where things get very, very dangerous because now we've exhausted the final diplomatic lifeline that always gets exhausted before war. This is well historically precedented. Before every major conflict, there is a high-level summit, either between heads of state or high-level dignitaries. It happens with Hitler and Stalin. It happened with Chamberlain and Hitler. It happened with Khrushchev and Kennedy. It happened with Biden and Putin in 2021. Okay? In 2021, Putin and Biden were shaking hands, grinning ear to ear, extolling all kinds of flattery upon one another. And we all know what happened 8 months later. And I know there's going to be so many people mesmerized by the pomp and pageantry of what went on today. You need to ask yourself, why was that done at all? Because they could have had that 2.5-hour phone conversation, and they probably could have done it more efficiently, under the radar. They didn't have to attract all this attention. Well, I'm going to tell you why. You see, the most important points of today were right at the beginning and right at the end, poetically bookended the entire circus. Okay? The beginning, when they flew the nuke plane over Vladimir Putin, that was so profoundly significant. And right at the end, when Vladimir Putin basically broke rank and he spoke in English for the first time of that trip. At least I'm sure he spoke in English to Trump in private when they were just having their one-on-one conversations, but to the press. And he did this on purpose because he knew it would catch Trump off guard. He said, "Next, we will welcome you to come to Moscow." And Trump, you could tell by his body language. I used to do research, myography research, where we would hook people's body up with electrodes and see if they're lying, because there's these, very microsecond nerve reactions when a person is lying that are telltale signs that they're not being truthful. And Trump exhibited a lot of those things in that engagement. He immediately, ever so subtly, turns his back to Putin when he starts to respond, and his knee-jerk reaction was, "Oh, well, I don't know, I'm going to have to talk to my people about that." And that basically tells you everything you need to know, that the U.S. does not trust the Russians. Okay? This is very important because, again, every single exchange like this in history is succeeded by a major conflict. And I have a feeling that things are about to get really, really ugly. Now, I think both of these guys are kind of slipping in their old age because the flattery that Putin was exhibiting towards Trump was a little bit excessive, almost to the point of obsequious and servile to a degree. And these guys know how to read Putin now. Putin knows how to, dole out platitudes and things. Like he did it with Biden, okay, back in 2021. Back in 2021, people forget the meeting in Geneva, where Putin said that Biden was professional, constructive, experienced. He knows what he wants. He acts skillfully. He doesn't miss anything. This is Putin's forte, buttering people up. And what he's basically been able to achieve now, and this is very important, is that he's going to go back home to his people. And he's having now demonstrated the courage he did to come to the United States and face the music. This guy's going to go down in history with his people, man. Like, there's going to be all kinds of monuments to this guy. So whether you like him or not, okay? And here's what it is now provided him with: a blank check.
for full-blown war. No more special military operation after this, because he knows that Ukraine is likely going to reject the deal. And he knows that the war is going to intensify after this. And so now he has the mandate. Remember yesterday I talked about the three things that are most important when an attack is imminent. These three boxes will be checked. It will be militarily feasible. There will be an imperative to do so. And there's going to be a mandate. The only real muddy water here is the mandate aspect, which is what they're trying to postpone. Neither side wants a nuclear engagement, but they both know if they have to, they're going to try to do it swiftly. They're going to try to do a decapitation. And if you don't think, like, I know there's a lot of normalcy Normans in the comments section, do just wait to come on the channel and be like, see, nothing happened, right? It's like the most narrow-minded, shallow, non-contributing perspective, right? See, nothing happened. Well, actually, a lot happened. This is history in the making right here. And if you're a student of history, you know that this happens before every major war. The high-level officials meet. They burn the final diplomatic lifeline, like, you know, in such show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? They use their final lifeline. This is it. This is the diplomatic paradox, that once you use that card, that's it. That's the final bridge there is to burn. And it is unfortunate because I think that both of these guys find themselves in certain positions that they perhaps don't want to be in. But Putin can now go back to his people, hold his head high, and he just definitely went up in the polls there. Even if you say that the polls are rigged, the ones that aren't rigged, he went up in the polls with this. And now, if something bad happens, he's going to get a green light. You're going to have guys signing up left and right, proud patriots. What did he do before he left? He went and laid flowers on the graves of American soldiers who died assisting the transit of the Lend-Lease corridor into Siberia, okay, back in World War II. I mean, so Trump got the win for MAGA, which surprisingly, I learned today, support for the Ukraine war is now over 50% amongst Republicans. Isn't that interesting? It was 30% before, so they're following Trump into war, right? So he has the mandate now. But Putin got way more out of this, because he now has a green light. He's got a blank check. If they keep coming at him at this point, his people are going to be 100% behind him. So they kind of just screwed up. As much as they wanted to do that epic flex with all the F-35s that so clean and unused that you could eat off of them, never been properly tested against a peer, right? And this was all supposed to intimidate Vladimir Putin, who was completely unfazed by the whole thing, which is crazy. He just wasn't even, thinking about it. Maybe he looked at the stealth bomber, people were like, oh, that's such a flex, bro. Well, he's probably thinking about, oh yeah, we got an S-500 that could knock that thing out of the sky. Right, we got your radar figured out, we figured it out in Iran or something like that, So, and I'm not saying that's technically the truth, but he was not fazed by it. Trump, on the other hand, you can tell Trump is usually very loquacious in these situations. He'll talk for hours on end, open to press conference, zero press conference, zero bold caps, ranting on Twitter, nothing like that. Very measured. And that makes me concerned because that's how you know shit's actually getting real, right? When he seems like he's very trepidatious and far more circumspect than he usually would be in this case. And that worries me a lot because this is when shit happens. It happens after this card gets played. Here's Putin's praise of Biden. People who portray Biden as frail or unfocused, this perspective has nothing to do or nothing in common with reality. They talk for 2 hours. Him and Biden talk for 2 hours. Okay? Face to face, one-on-one. Trump had a delegation, I think it was 3-on-3. Okay, and they had 2.5 hours. You factor in translation. With Biden and Putin, there'd be translation as well. So really it was 1 hour. But you have 6 guys, right, who are there to talk about economic issues and Ukraine. Obviously, it was just Ukraine for the most part. But let's presume maybe it was 50-50. Okay, so how much time was possibly spent on Ukraine there? About 1 hour and 15 minutes if you factor in the translation, because Witkoff doesn't speak Russian as far as I know. Maybe he speaks a little bit. They don't all speak good English and Russian. So you cut that 6 ways and you basically got a few minutes for each of them to state their case. And that's it. And maybe the odd rebuttal. This was supposed to be a full day affair. This was supposed to be, as far as I know, like a 7-hour meeting with a lunch break. They didn't even make it 3 hours before the lunch break. And they cut the press conference off early. Okay? So despite Trump saying it was a 10 out of 10 meeting and all of this, that's what they're going to say. You know, people are like, you see, Putin said that the war would have never started if Trump was in office. What do you think he's going to say? Do you think he's going to come out and really, you know, with everything that he is, you know, blown up Trump's ego, he's going to take a big crap in the Sunday and be like, yeah, you know, Trump backed out of the INF treaty and sent these Javelin missiles and did all this. You think he's going to say that? Of course not. He's going to tell you what you guys would get swindled. You few people who watch this channel. I know many people don't, except the normalcy Normans who are still in denial. But of course not. And of course Trump is going to say it was a 10. He's not going to say, oh, it's a 1 out of 10. It was a 7. It was a so-so meeting. This was it. This was the last thing, right? So the only question is, how do they paint Putin as a bad guy after this? Because it's gonna be hard. I tell you, it's gonna be difficult. Now, Trump did not blow Putin up too much. Like, he did not, you know, talk him up that much. He talked him up a little bit, but not that much. So he's going to go to Zelensky now. And this is the stupid part. Trump, who has all the cards, has to go to Zelensky and see if he approves of the message. Why? You have all the cards. This is just total facade, and people are falling for it hook, line, and sinker, time and time again. And people wonder why nothing ever changes. People wonder why I'm so politically cynical. Because you fall for the same damn tricks every single time. Every time throughout history, this happens before a major war. This has to happen, right? Because you need to show your population that you did everything to try to bring peace. So I got a real bad feeling. And remember, when the first day Trump was elected, I made a joke. I believe you can go back, look through the archives on the Canadian Prepper channel. This one would be posted. I think I jokingly said, the war's over, you know, but then I got real and I said, look, Trump and Putin are going to shake hands. They're going to do the photo op, and then things are going to escalate thereafter. Now, they actually escalated faster than I thought before the handshake. I mean, I never expected Trump to be doing all this zigzagging. Look, why would you perfectly time the flyover of a stealth bomber that you just tested in Iran against a near peer? Why would you do that if you weren't trying to be provocative, if you weren't trying to intimidate? Okay? Everything about this, from, you know, Trump waiting to get off the plane until the last minute because he thought Putin's plane. And if you guys don't think that there was a real security risk with Putin coming over here, the prime minister left the summit that he was at early, which was in, I can never pronounce the name, Kyrgyzstan. I'm probably not pronouncing the name of the country properly. It's one country that I've never understood anything about it, how to say it, and where it is. All right. It's just, even though it's a sizable country, I'm told. So he was there and he flew back because of security reasons. Now, all of this that's telegraphed is for the purpose of putting the West on notice that if you try something, it's FAFO.
All right. So you can see, you know what I mean? Breaking down the scenario, the power dynamics with meaning a the heads of state, you know what I mean? That's what occurred yesterday, you know what I'm saying? So what's going to be the result? I heard today, I said earlier, uh Russia wants to hold Donetsk, right? This whole region that's allegedly part of Ukraine, you know what I mean? But the interesting thing, Sergei Lavrov came to the United States wearing the USSR shirt, a USSR era shirt, like we're taking over, you know what I mean? And that's what's going on in Russia. So part of it was, whether Trump would give some of Alaska to Russia or allow them to drill in Alaska, something like that. So we're gonna figure out what's gonna happen sooner enough. But just know anything can happen at any time. You put a B-52 nuclear bomber over the president of Russia as a show of force, he could have went back home and just pressed the button, you know? So as with the sixth sense, we can see, you know what, something's going on. They're saying peace, peace, and then sudden destruction will occur. Mute your phone. Don't come off mute now. Okay. So real quick, I'm gonna hand it over to the elder in a little bit, when he's ready. And I want to show a quick video. It's actually not quick, but we'll play it until that time comes, right? And it talks about
Just cautious.
Esau being hunted. So we're going to get into a little bit of a deeper spiritual sixth sense type of understanding that the angels are whooping Esau's behind. It's just some stuff that's not shown on CNN, MSNBC, so forth and so on. Doesn't mean it's not happening. It is happening. You gotta listen to people's personal accounts, the videos that they shared, what they went through. You know what I mean? You probably like, I'm not believing none of that. Well, if everybody's saying the same thing, eventually you're gonna say something is actually happening. Okay. And of course, once we're in the Feast of Tabernacle season, we have to keep in mind that we're going to be out there in the woods. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be out there in the elements. We have to be right with the Most High God going into those situations because we're being tested every moment, like it's written in Job, but especially out there. Let's get Job chapter 18 and verse 10. A snare is laid for him in the ground and a trap for him in the way. Esau is getting he is also getting a traps, like a bear trap, just setting him up. Verse 11, terror shall make him afraid on every side and shall drive him to his feet. All right, so watch this quick video. It's half hour long. I'm gonna do another lesson strictly on things of this nature very soon, but this is just a prequel of that lesson and the ending of The Sixth Sense.
You won't want to miss this one. On a humid May night in 2022, a man named Jeff grabbed his fishing gear and headed out the back door of his apartment complex in South Carolina. However, not all was as it seems because something was amiss, and this is what he captured.
I hope you can hear this. This sounds like gorillas fighting in the tree. They're breaking limbs bigger around than me.
Jeff pulled out his phone and started recording, pointing it up at the trees where all this commotion was happening. And through his phone screen, with the flashlight barely penetrating the darkness, he could see branches visibly moving violently.
I've never seen anything like it in my life.
The branches that were breaking were not small. These were thick limbs, some as big around as his leg, and they were just snapping like twigs.
This is the second time I've come over here. And the first time when I got up under them trying to figure out what it was, they started breaking limbs off and throwing them at me. Look, they're ruining this freaking place. What in God's name? It's bigger than me, whatever it is. They're just breaking limbs off that it would take me 2 minutes to saw.
At one point during all of this, Jeff's light caught something like a shimmer in the air or like heat waves rising off of hot asphalt, but in the shape of something massive moving through the tree.
Look, see, he's coming right above me right here. He's fixing to throw something at me, whatever it is. Look, that's big for me. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. What in Jesus' name just is doing this? Oh my God, he just took half the tree down. Oh my God, oh my God. It's something stronger than a bear, and he is pissed. That's a healthy tree, about 8 to 10, maybe even 12 inches in diameter, that he just broke because he's pissed because I'm getting close to him. I think I'm gonna bounce because I think he just hit the ground, which means he's about to face me on the foot. And I don't really want to wrestle with somebody that can tear trees down. My God, look at the tree. He just freaking broke in half.
The so-called experts have debunked this footage, saying that it's just a dead tree falling and breaking limbs. And then there's this comment. I work with trees in a tree cutting service. Those are not snapping without a pressured force or mechanical force. Whatever snapped those trees in the middle of the night is a beast. As you're going to hear in today's video, there are so many people with encounters like this with what they claim are invisible entities, or some refer to them as Glimmerman. Similar footage to this is the 1997 footage in Emerson County, Georgia.
You see that? Over there, look, over there. You see that?
What the hell?
Wait.
I don't like this.
You see that? Right there. Look.
God. It's not an animal.
This is where 7 strange sightings were reported by several of the local townspeople here. And a video camera was found by a local game hunter, but no one has ever claimed the footage. Now, of course, all of this footage could be faked, but when you couple it with the vast amount of eyewitness sightings and experiences that are being shared, it makes you wonder what's truly going on. Like this eyewitness who decided to share their story. But speaking of things that can sneak up on you, it got me thinking about my own health lately. I'm in this phase where, as I'm getting older, hitting my mid-30s, I'm along an old logging path on Ben's family's property, which an 18-year-old named Ben sign up for free and start booking today. The link's in the description to find and book a top-rated doctor today. Thank you again to ZocDoc. Now, back to the video. In the summer of 1979, an 18-year-old named Ben Green and his friend were walking along an old logging path on Ben's family's property, which was located about 15 miles west of Charlotte, North Carolina. The property was in a very rural area near the Catawba River. It was around 1:30 in the afternoon, and it was this beautiful, clear day, and the two friends had gone out hunting.
Yeah, so we'll play that again another time. Okay, it gets crazy. It gets crazy. So sixth sense, intuition lets you know that the Most High is taking care of business on all angles, whether it is a spotter and lanternfly, people getting assaulted in the woods. It just keeps going. All right. But hey, repent and keep the commandments, We're living in the last days. So I'll send it over to Elder Zabak, Hom Yashala, we got next. Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, family. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Cassandra, you cut the YouTube off?
Slacky, when we cut it off and then cut it back on?
Yeah, cut it off, and I'm gonna tell you when to cut it. Now I'm gonna tell you when to start a new video.
Con.